Okay, so we're going to start our service off by singing the song by Cat Stevens, Morning Has Broken. And I've provided you words in big print for my eyes.
Everybody ready?
Ready? Morning has broken like the first morning. Blackbird has spoken like the first bird. Praise for the singing, praise for the morning, praise for the springing, fresh from the word. Sweet the rain's new fall, sunlit from heaven, like the first dew fall on the first grass. Praise for the sweetness of the wet garden, sprung in completeness where his feet pass. Mine is the sunlight, mine is the morning, born of the one light, Eden's soft way. Praise with elation, praise every morning, God's recreation of the new day. Excellent. That's a great way to start the morning off.
Beautiful. Thank you.
It always reminds me of, who's the guy that won the Nobel Prize? He's a Jew, he's not a Jew, he's Christian, he's a Jew. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Make
I
up
know
your
what
mind,
you're
I
talking
don't care.
Now we have to
Make up your
have
mind.
to go home and look it up.
So we're going to go.
Cat Stevens.
That, no, I got that, but the other one, that won the Nobel Prize, big singer
Oh, that I can't tell you.
from the 60s. What?
Yeah. I can't remember his name.
We need, no.
Well, we're going to go into the daily word, and the day today is inspired. My words and actions inspire others. Today I reflect on the clear vision, powerful words, and courageous actions of leaders such as Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr. I appreciate how one person's example can inspire so many others to move beyond thoughts of limitation and focus on the possibilities for good that are always present. Inspiration can be thought of as the breath of God. I, like all people, am made in the image and likeness of the divine. I give thanks for people I have known whose vibrant faith and love, even in the most challenging circumstances, have inspired me. Guided by my divine gifts of imagination and zeal, I join with those building a world where each person lives freely and with joy. And from Genesis chapter 2, verse 7. Then the Lord God formed man from the dust of the ground and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and the man became a living being. You have to think of that. At that moment is when that thought of having divinity with God, he breathed breath into us to become human. The divine beings having the human experience that we have been experiencing for a long time. I wanted to give you a quote from Charles Fillmore, co-founder of Unity, that I really, really love this one because this always comes to mind to me. Words are also seeds, and when dropped into the invisible spiritual substance, they grow and bring forth after their kind. So we have lots of paraphrasing of that. Our thoughts are prayers. Thoughts become things. There is a song, our thoughts are prayers, and we are always praying. Our thoughts are prayers. Take charge of what you're saying. Seek a higher consciousness, a state of peacefulness, and know that God is always there. Have you heard that one? Have you heard that?
No, and I'd like
Our
to learn.
thoughts are prayers, and we are always praying. Our thoughts are prayers. Take charge of what you're saying. Seek a higher consciousness, a state of peacefulness, and know that God is always here, and every thought becomes a prayer.
Beautiful.
That's it. Whenever I'm driving and I'm by myself in the car, sometimes these things, just those little short things that would be sung in my church of my past in Temecula, California, they come to mind. And every time I have a thought, I think, okay, thoughts are prayers. It's kind of like there was I can't remember who came up with the saying, that's why I don't read newspapers and watch the news, because it's just a request for prayer. Every time we see that, it's just a request for prayer. So I want you to think about that throughout the day, that your thoughts become things. They are seeds that when, as Charles Fillmore said, when dropped into the invisible spiritual substance, they grow and bring forth after their kind. So be careful what you're thinking, because what you're thinking is going to bring to you what you put into it. So think your good thoughts, think your positive thoughts. Step aside, push aside the negativity and the things that don't serve your highest good. And that's a term we use a lot, your highest good. And think about what that means to you. I'd really like this inspired. Be inspired by what your highest good is, because it's going to be different for every person that you see. It'll be different. So next we're going to sing another song. The other song on here, I love this. It's from Godspell. It was actually written from Bible verse by a woman named Lena. It's not Linda, typo, sorry. Lena Sindel. And we're going to see the same thing 3 times. It's just such a beautiful, beautiful song. Day by day, day by day, oh dear Lord, 3 things I pray. See thee more clearly, love thee more dearly, follow thee more nearly, day by day. Day by day, day by day, day by day, day by day. Oh dear Lord, 3 things I pray. To see thee more clearly, love thee more dearly, follow thee more nearly, day by day.
One more time.
Day by day, day by day. Oh, dear Lord, 3 things I pray. To see thee more clearly, love thee more dearly, follow thee more nearly, day by day. Thank you, Carol.
Thank you.
It's a great song. So, my message today is titled, How Do You Measure a Year?
Real good.
You know, at the end of every year, I don't care what network you turn on, you'll see a year in review. You see it on CNN, you see it on the major, ABC, NBC, you see that year in review. And what they do is they give you a compilation of all the activities, the events, good, bad, and ugly, that happened all year long. And we sit and we watch that, and then they follow it, or somewhere during that same day, you'll see a compilation of all the people who passed that year, all the big notable names and things. And then what happens is, for me anyway, I become a little retrospective. I tend to put things in reverse a little bit and start going back through that year to see what happened, what was going on, what we did for that year. And then I do the same thing with people that have passed. And we experienced loss in our family this year. I'm sure many people have. And it makes you go retrospective on that. And then I kind of get into a little of what I call the woulda, coulda, shouldas. You ever been there?
Oh, yeah.
Andrew's shaking her head, yes, yes. Where we think, oh man, if I only would have done it that way. Oh, I really should have thought about doing this. You know, I could have handled that better. And you get in, and you're still in that retrospective. And at some point in time, I have the consciousness to say, stop, and I put myself in neutral. And then I idle for a while. And in that idling is where we become very introspective. Now, some churches do a burning bowl ceremony where you write down the things, the limitations, the restrictions, and you burn it, right? At New Braunfels, they did a white stone ceremony where you write your word for the year. We have a very dear friend in San Diego, Wendy, who every year Wendy will say, what's your word for the year? And we come up with another word. And I have words that I've done with Wendy since at least 2010. So when you think about this and you think about the words, and you can call it a resolution or an intention, I don't like the word resolution because it intimates that there's something that needs to be resolved, which means there's a problem. So I don't want to put that into my forefront of my consciousness. I want to intend. I want to set what the good things are that I intend for this year. Now I'm going to share with you, and we do this in private usually, I share with my word this year was patience. Because I'm not a real patient person. And when I'm not patient, it's not very pretty at my house. Because I get scolded, and I should be scolded. And I started thinking about the different words. Megan allowed me to share this. Megan's word was kaleidoscope. And I thought, wow, that's kind of cool. What's kaleidoscope? And she said, well, when you look through it and you turn the lenses, you have an infinite number of possibilities. And I thought, wow, how profound that she saw that. Very, very clever to come up with that. Then I started thinking, where do all these words come from? Where are they emanating from within us?
Higher self.
Our higher selves, very good at least, but they're also emanating from a state of love. Now, why do I want to be patient? Because I need to be patient for the people I love, for those around me. Because I love them and I don't want to put them in a position where they're uncomfortable. Even Megan's word kaleidoscope, I had to think about it for a second, but that comes from a state of love. If you want to see limitless possibilities, that means you have a love of yourself and you have a love of life. And not necessarily life with a lowercase l, but life with a capital L as well. So it comes from all those. So you get from that introspective position where you've got that, and now it's time for action. You know, we say in unity, the fifth step or the fifth premise is to move forward in action. In Science of Mind and Centers for Spiritual Living, it's treat, pray, and move your feet. You don't stay in that one position. So you move forward into a more positive aspect of what you're doing. And it comes up with time. Well, Megan on New Year's Day sent a beautiful text out to all of her family and friends, and she attached something that I saw on Facebook as well, and I don't have it with me, but it basically started out with wishing you good things. And it started wishing you 12 months of maybe success, 52 weeks, 12 months, 52 weeks, 365 days, I think it's 14,400 hours, but I could be wrong on that one. And then it came to 525,600 minutes. Anybody, Diana, you recognize that?
Rent.
Seasons of Love from the musical Rent.
Yeah. Right.
And in that it says, how do you measure a year? Well, all of those are increments of time, which led me to come up with this quote from the Bible. From Ecclesiastes 3, verse 1, there is a time for everything and a season for every activity under the heavens. There is a time and a season. So it begs the question, what time and season are we in right now?
Regeneration, I guess.
Regeneration? Rebuilding?
January is always new beginning.
We're in January, new beginnings. I've had somebody tell me we're in winter. But you know what we really are in? If you really want to get deep about it, we're in now. We are in the season and the time of now. And that's all we really have is now. Eckhart Tolle, who's one of my favorite authors, wrote, time isn't precious at all because it is an illusion. What you perceive as precious is not time, but the one point that is out of time, the now. This is precious indeed, the most precious thing there is. The now. And Wayne Dyer said, present moment living, getting in touch with your now, is at the heart of effective living. When you think about it, there is really no other moment you can live. Now is all there is, and the future is just another present moment to live when it arrives. So we have to live in the now. And we have to decide what that looks like for us. We take our intentions and our words for the new year coming up, and we go into that now. We go into the now and what we're doing at this moment in time. And you can talk about all the other things that have transpired, but if you don't step into the now and live in a present moment, then there's really nothing else that there is. You know, you think about the things you want to do in the coming year. You think about the things that the people that you've lost. And I always love the saying, reason, season, lifetime. People, things, and events happen to us for a reason. You know, I had a terrible experience at work one time. Could not understand why in God's name it ever happened. But there was a reason, and the reason was to teach me perseverance and resilience. Because it really took a lot to get through that. There's a season. You know, we have a friend that we don't see anymore. That was not a lifetime, it was a season. And it was good, and we learned, and we experienced a lot, and we bless her on her way. But she's no longer in our lives now. She didn't pass on, it's just she's on her own path. And there's probably a reason why she came into our lives as well. And then there's the lifetime. And the lifetime is what you have to put into perspective. And you have to put it into a very healthy perspective. Because that lifetime is when you look at it and say, okay, people that have passed, that we love dearly, family members and friends, those are lifetime experiences. Those are the ones that we're here for the lifetime. Those are the ones that we will hold with us on our hearts forever. And it's okay to reminisce. It's okay to become retrospective. And even with those relationships, to become somewhat introspective. But you have to make sure that you let go of it and move on. Now, it's really kind of interesting to go back through words. I don't know if you've ever done this before. We have, like I said, I've got words with Wendy that go back to 2010. And I look at the word that was from the year before and the next word and went, wow, it kind of came to fruition. Maybe my intention was so strong that it came to fruition because that's what I experienced that year. You know, in 2018, going into 2019, my year was transition because we went and made a huge life-changing move from California, where we lived for 42 years, to Texas, where we knew no one. I mean, my family was in Houston, but we knew absolutely no one here. So it was a big transition, and we didn't know the area. So it was a big thing. And yet, there was a reason for that, because now change and transition doesn't really affect us that much anymore. When you can make a big one like that, especially when you're in your 60s, and it's like, okay, this is a big, huge move. It made me understand and have a better empathy for my friends who were older than I that had gone through those experiences. It made me understand better the change my mom had to make when she went from her home of 38 years into a facility. And even though it wasn't really a facility, it was a different community, but it was a 3-bedroom house to a 1-bedroom apartment with noise and people and things she wasn't used to. It made me really have a little more empathy for the things that she was going through at that point. So we think about that, and you think about those things in your life, the transitions, the changes. So how do we measure the year? Well, as I said, we go back to love. Because if you take any word that you have ever come up with, or intention, I will guarantee you we can pull it back to love. Can anybody throw out a word that they've used in the past or?
Imagine.
Imagine. Why would you want to imagine things?
Well,
Bring that back to love.
Bring it back to love?
Yeah.
Well, there's this poem that's my favorite poem in the world, and there's a line that says, they say that God and the imagination are one. How high that highest candle lights the dark.
Oh, I love that.
It's called The Final Soliloquy of the Interior Paramour. That's
beautiful. God and the imagination are one. And truly, that's you can't find a more truthful statement. God and your imagination are one. And it comes back to love. It comes back to love of God. It comes back to love of self.
Of self.
Yeah. I mean, I came up, I said, I used resiliency one time. Well, why do I want to be resilient? Because I love myself, and I love being around the people that I love. So that's where that comes back from. And when you think about it coming back from love, we express love in many different ways. We express love for others, not necessarily the same love of romantic love or the love you have for a family or a partner or even a child, but love of your community. So going into HEB, yesterday Megan and I went up, and the first thing I said to the young man that was checking us out was, how's your day going? Because I wanted to have spread a little bit of kindness when I went there. It's not that I'm saying to myself, okay, say something kind. I'm trying to get myself into the regular habit of being kind. Just that comes from where I come from, being kind. You know, when somebody's holding the door, thank you so much. And, you know, I think the one thing that really, not to ask somebody, how are you, and then turn away and go. If I'm going to ask you how you are, I need to have the common sense and the courtesy to say, how are you doing? Give you time to tell me how you're doing, and if it's not going well, to be somewhat empathetic with what you might be going through. So don't ask somebody, hey, how you doing? And then walk off. That's one of the most insincere, it becomes a pet peeve with me. It just becomes a pet peeve with me to have somebody do that. Megan, I'm not calling you out on this. Megan was at the bank with me the other day, and Connie called, and Megan took the call, and we were up at the cashier, and we got outside. I said, Megan, it's one of my pet peeves. I can't stand it if somebody's at the register talking to somebody when they're being checked out. I just find that very rude, to be on your phone. Now, they were taking care of some things that needed to be done, and I was dealing with the bank teller, but to be rude like that, to me, is just so disrespectful of others. You know, communication style, to communicate clearly and honestly at all times with people. So communication, how are you doing, is a form of communication. And you do that from a state of love. And, you know, I don't think anybody's ever really clearly defined what love is. I think it's better that we express love with our actions. That, to me, is love. You express love with your actions, with what you say, with how you behave and how you act. Far more than you can say, oh, I love them. I love Carol. I really do love Carol. But if I am not kind to Carol, if I don't do things and collaborate with Carol, then I don't show her the love that I have for her as a friend. So, you know, those are the things that we look at. So I think for 2025, coming from a position of love, coming from a state of love, is probably one of the most important things we can do. The song says 525,600 minutes. That's how many minutes are in a year. I'm a little bit of a geek. As of noon today, it will be 498,960 minutes left in this year at 12 noon today.
You do math.
I do. I love math. I even loved algebra. People thought I was hitting the head very hard sometimes. My mom used to say, I dropped you on your head, that's why you like math. So that's the thing. 498,960 minutes left in this year. So what are we going to do with them? And how are we going to measure our year? Are we going to measure it with love day by day? I love that when Carol came up with that song, I went, that's perfect. Day by day. How are we going to measure our love? How are we going to measure the year? We do it day by day. Because I don't want to wait until the end of 2025 in December and see the news flash of what happened this year and who passed away to be reminiscent or to start saying, oh, well, what did I do with 2025? I don't want to wait till then to decide what I did with my year. I don't want to measure my year that way. I need to measure it in steps of love. And here's the thing, and many people don't realize this or don't think about doing it. So today's Sunday, and I have every intention of leading every day with love. But maybe come Wednesday, I'm going to get up on the wrong side of the bed. Maybe I'm not as loving. Maybe that rock with patience on it needs to be held in my face a little more clearly. I just need to remember, take ownership of my actions. If I do something unkind or unloving, take ownership make amends, hit the reset button. Because we can always hit the reset button, can't we? You know, I never write my words in ink. Why? Because I can erase them and write a new word if I need to. The stones we got have 6 sides. I only wrote on 1. I got 5 more sides I can write on. Some of the sides are tiny. I may have to write really small. But what you do on Monday or Sunday doesn't have to be the same thing that you think on Tuesday or Wednesday or Thursday. You can always change your mind. You can always say, okay, that's no longer serving my highest good. That's not helping me become and be the person I want to be. So I can hit the reset button, I can start over and start anew. So this week I would encourage you to think about the times that you might need to reset. And know that it's perfectly fine. With the exception of maybe the 10 Commandments, anything else been etched in concrete by God that you know of that I'm not aware of? No. You know, you can think of things from the Bible. Mary Magdalene comes to mind. Didn't matter what she had done. Jesus said, you're a child of God. Let's go. You know, if you look at all the 12 apostles and all the disciples that followed Jesus, the master teacher, they all had other things. One was a tax collector, was a bad guy, right? I mean, all these people in biblical times that we kind of look to for these allegories and these parables, the examples are from going from bad to good. And you can do that at any time. So if you find that you need to reset, if you find you need to hit the button, just do it. And when you do it, remember that you don't have to, at any time, fall back into the limitations. There's no time when you have to fall back and say, I really can't do that. You may not want to do it because it's too hard, but is there anything that you really can't do? Well, you may not be able to do brain surgery if you're now trained as a neurosurgeon, but there are, for the most part, there's things that we say we can't do when we really know that deep down we're finding an excuse. So let go of the limitations, let go of the restrictions, push the reset button when you need to. And know that if you do have a course correction, just correct it and keep moving forward. Because that's what we were put on this earth to do, is to keep moving forward, just keep pressing that button. Divine beings having a human experience that sometimes takes us to our knees, but we have the wherewithal to get up or to be helped up. That's another thing, to be able to ask for help when you need it. That's very hard for me. My family will attest to that. I don't ask for help very often. And so that's one of the things I need to be patient with myself and ask for help when I need it. And asking for help is a sign of strength. It's not a sign of weakness. Because to ask for help, you have to push your ego aside. Anybody know what ego is an acronym for? Edging God out. Edging God out. So pushing the ego away and doing so out of love. So what we're going to do now is just go into a quiet prayer, if you will. I'm not going to call it necessarily a meditation, but if you'll just get comfortable in your seats and close your eyes if you're comfortable doing so. And know with me that in the now, God is all there is. In the now, I am, as we all are, one with the one with the divine source, one with that is all that there is. We are microcosms within the macrocosm of the great divine. And what I know for each of us here is that whatever our intentions for this beautiful new year, they are based in love. They are based in love for ourselves, for those around us. They are based in love for the divine, for that spiritual essence that's within every person. And I know that the now is a beautiful place to be. And if we feel any bit of discomfort in it, we push the discomfort away. We take action to make it a more beautiful place for each of us, and we relax into it. And with tremendous gratitude and heartfelt thanks, I release this word, this prayer, into the law of God, knowing that it can only be acted upon here and now, and made so. And so it is, and I let it be so, as together we affirm, amen. Okay. Well, Carol and I have a little treat for you, I think. If you know the words and want to sing with us, please feel free to do so. We're going to kind of sing a little bit of a modified version of Seasons of Love.
Oh, yeah.
It's okay. Ready, Kathy?
I'm ready, Carol. 525,600 minutes, 525,000 moments so dear, 525,600 minutes. How do you measure a year? In daylight, in sunsets, in midnights, in cups of coffee, in inches, in miles, in laughter and strife. 525,600 minutes. How do you measure a year in the life? How about love? How about love? How about love? Measuring love. 525,600 minutes, 525,000 journeys to plan, 525,600 minutes. How do you measure the life of a woman or man? How about love? Sing that with us. How about love? How about love? How about measuring love? How about
Measuring love.
love? Wanna do it about love? Yeah. How about love? How about love? How about love?
Measuring love.
Measuring love. Thank you, Carol.
Thank you.
I always am honored when Carol asks me to sing, and this is, I think, the third time I've actually been honored to be able to sing with her, so it's,
Well, you've got a great
this
voice,
does
Kathy.
my heart well. It's like makes my day. It's my,
coming down there and giving a concert at the Port of Francis Community Theater.
this is only one of the many songs Carol has written that I've heard. She's just phenomenal. Very inspires.
I've been looking back at treasured faces and places. I've been looking back, thoughts spinning like a wheel. I've been looking back at new oases and the places, memories and melodies, the way I feel. I've been looking hard at my pride's disguises. I've been looking hard at who's behind the wheel. I've been looking hard at death nearer in the mirror, at memories and melodies, and the way I feel, the way I feel, looking at the moonlight, the way I feel, walking by the shore, the way I feel, working in the garden, the way I feel, when you walk in the door. Hey, hey, now I'm moving on to new chapters and ever afters. I'm moving on, both hands on the wheel. I'm moving on, getting better at what matters. Good memories and melodies, and the way I feel.